Hinaan mo muna. Hinaan mo muna yung boses.
There was hope, there was unanimity on that, requires unanimity. That wasn't able to happen this time round. Joseph Borrell said it's still on the table for perhaps a third round of sanctions, but it's very disappointing, I think, for many people who felt that this set of sanctions, although they are far-reaching and they're the largest set of sanctions that the EU has ever implemented, they seem to have fallen flat. They seem to have disappointed. We heard commentary from the likes of Donald Tusk, the former president of the European Council, who said the countries that were against you putting SWIFT on the set of sanctions, that they were at disgrace themselves.
So a little bit of disappointment there that SWIFT hasn't made the sanctions list. Now the EU, it's told Ukraine that it's not alone. We've seen, of course, these financial sanctions, but the Ukrainian President Zelensky says more help is needed. So how far do you think Brussels could go? Could SWIFT actually make it onto that sanctions list eventually, and when and why?
Yeah, I mean, unanimity is the problem here, because countries, Germany, Italy, Hungary, don't want to have it so far. But Joseph Borrell did hold out hope that eventually could get on it for the next round. The question is, what does Putin have to do to get a third round of sanctions, to get SWIFT financial transactions on the list? That's a huge question. We know tonight at the UN Security Council, France is putting forward a resolution condemning Russia for the violence. Obviously, Russia will veto that, but it's hoped that the rest of the General Assembly will vote in favour of condemning Russia, because the EU, again, is not a military organisation. It's an organisation of 27 member states. The tools that they have is sanctions, and so that's really as far as it can go.
And NATO will send more troops to the borders of Eastern Europe. The plan was announced by the Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg following a special leaders' summit to discuss Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The move comes after Poland called for the alliance's forces in the east to be boosted. Together with Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, and Poland requested the emergency meeting to discuss Article 4, which covers the security of any parties of the alliance that is threatened. As Stoltenberg says, the alliance has already strengthened its defence.
We are deploying elements of the NATO response force to further strengthen our posture and to respond quickly to any contingency. The United States, Canada and European allies have deployed thousands of more troops to the eastern part of the alliance. We have over 100 jets at high alert operating in over 30 different locations, and over 120 ships from the high north to the Mediterranean, including 3 strike carrier groups.
Well, we're going to take a short break, but still to come on Euronews now. We'll be heading over to Matthew in the Cube.
Amid the attack on Ukraine and growing opposition online, Russia says it has partially restricted Facebook. We'll be taking a look after the break.
After 2 days of intense discussions, the summit between the European Union and the African Union ended on a positive note. Leaders talk about a renewed partnership and major investments were announced. It remains to be seen, however, what concrete impact this summit will have for the people in Europe and in Africa. A joint vision for 2030 based on mutual respect and equality. That is the objective of the 70 diplomatic delegations that gathered in Brussels. And for the African Union, this requires a fundamental shift in the relationship between Africa and Europe.
To form cohesively, we need to bring a new state of mind to Euro-African ties based on a true vision of partnership and not just on a relationship based on aid.
by the President of the European Commission, who announced a major investment plan for Africa over the next 7 years.
The first regional plan under our big investment strategy, Global Gateway, is the Africa-Europe plan with more than 150 billion euros of investment.
How these funds will be mobilized is still unclear, but the EU says they will help finance the green transition, jobs, and education. Another major area of investment is the digital sector. With only 25% of the African population connected to the internet, many governments, including the Democratic Republic of Congo, are already tackling the obstacles that stand in the way of a digital economy.
The first problem is regulation. We must absolutely regulate digital activities on the continent. That means having clear rules that specify access conditions. The second problem is a problem regarding content. We need to make sure that the applications that will be developed in the digital sector answer to the people's needs.
To achieve this digital future, the DRC plans to cooperate on an international tax on tech giants and establish fair trade practices with its partners.
There's a lot of human capital, young people living there, female entrepreneurs, the strength of women in the African economy when it comes to innovation and technology. And the EU should be the trading partner for the continent.
In Brussels, the finance minister of the DRC signed an agreement with a consulting firm and the French Development Agency. Under this deal, 600,000 euros will be allocated to the elaboration of a national plan for the development of digital infrastructures.
It's to define a policy, define a framework in which public investments like those of the French Development Agency or other actors, in which private investments especially will be able to grow well.
Digital transformation, insists the Congolese government, is vital to modernize the DRC's economy, especially in fields like agriculture.
The ambition of the government is to make sure that agriculture and the agro-industry take back their place, and to do that we need farmers, small and big, who use modern means and methods to strengthen their productivity.
Renforcer leur productivité.
Building sustainable agri-food systems is a major concern in many parts of Africa. Another pressing issue that's deeply interconnected to agriculture is climate change, and with its rich ecosystem, the DRC can take a leading role in this global fight.
Also, we know that we have the potential, at least in terms of our environment, which can be an answer to these threats, to maintain global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius.
While Europe and Africa agree on the need to fight against global warming together, another important topic has yet to find common grounds: COVID-19. Only 11% of the African population is fully vaccinated against the virus. African leaders have accused Europeans of hoarding vaccine doses, but the main point of contention is the EU's refusal to lift intellectual property rights on vaccines and other products.
We are talking about the lives of millions, hundreds of millions of people, rather than the profitability of the few companies.
Leaders from both continents say they will continue working together in the coming months to find a solution on COVID vaccines. Despite these differences, the delegations left the summit satisfied and committed to a better partnership, a partnership that will prove increasingly necessary to overcome the challenges of today and of tomorrow.
Get the latest world news from a European perspective.
Bonjour à tous, soyez les bienvenus dans Spotlight.
Hello and welcome to Spotlight. How to regenerate treatment devices to underpopulated regions. Japan, with its aging population, is using innovative digital technologies in a new program, Digital Guidance.
Intéressante et efficace dans le cadre de son
More in this report from Laurence Alexandrovich and a team in Japan.
numérique et à la technologie. Voyez ce reportage de Laurence Alexandrovich et de nos équipes au Japon.
In 60 years, the village of Kamiyama lost 70% of its population. Yet, it is still an example of how to beat this trend. This village of 5,000 people has awakened thanks to one man and intensive